You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Struggling to secure on-prem apps with modern identity? Don't worry, you're not alone. Join industry leaders from Fortune 500 organizations to secure your apps on any cloud with any IDP, regardless of your environment's complexity. Meet Strata's identity orchestration platform, Mavericks. Say goodbye to the headaches of app refactoring and legacy tech debt. With identity orchestration, you can modernize legacy apps to use MFA or passwordless authentication in a few weeks, migrate from one IDP to another, and so much more without changing the app. No matter your IAM use case, Strata extends the value of your current identity investments. And the best part? You can try it for free today. Visit strata.io/cyberwire to share your biggest identity challenge, and they'll hook you up with a complimentary pair of AirPods Pro. Don't miss out. Visit strata.io/cyberwire. That's strata.io/cyberwire. A zero-click exploit affects iPhones belonging to Kaspersky employees. A GRU cyber campaign incorporates novel malware. The Indian government targets Apple over hacking attempts. Microsoft disables app installer. Australian court's AV is compromised. A BlackBasta decryptor is released. Toufan claims attacks against Israeli targets. Patients in Oklahoma face online extortion. LoanCare customers' data is at risk. Google settles a private browsing lawsuit. Barracuda patches a zero-day. That Chinese spy balloon was making a local call. And then Caleb Barlow, a friend of our show, shares password security tips you should know. Happy New Year, everyone. It is Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. The big story breaking over the holidays involves compromised iPhones in Russia. Ars Technica reports that iPhones belonging to Kaspersky employees were targeted by an advanced exploit over the course of 4 years. Dubbed triangulation, this campaign targeted a wide range of individuals, including those working in diplomatic missions and embassies in Russia. The attack was executed through iMessage texts, installing malware without any action from the recipient. This spyware was capable of transmitting a variety of sensitive data, including microphone recordings and geolocation, to attacker-controlled servers. Interestingly, the malware did not survive a device reboot, but the attackers circumvented this by sending new malicious texts after a reboot. The triangulation campaign exploited 4 critical zero-day vulnerabilities, which were unknown to Apple at the time of discovery. These vulnerabilities, now patched by Apple, affected not only iPhones, but other Apple devices like Macs, iPads, Apple TVs, and Apple Watches. One of the most striking aspects of this attack was its exploitation of a hidden hardware feature in Apple devices. This feature allowed the attackers to bypass robust hardware-based memory protections that are typically difficult to defeat. These protections prevent attackers from executing post-exploitation techniques even after compromising the system's kernel. Kaspersky's discovery of this hidden hardware function came after extensive reverse engineering of infected devices. Their research led them to hardware registers and memory-mapped inputs and outputs, which the attackers used to bypass memory protections. The MMIO addresses used by the attackers were not listed in any device tree or found in source codes, kernel images, and firmware, underscoring the obscurity and sophistication of the attack. Russia's FSB has for some time accused Apple of colluding with the U.S. NSA. In this case, however, Kaspersky explicitly declined to make any attribution, telling Ars Technica, "Currently, we cannot conclusively attribute this cyber attack to any known threat actor. The unique characteristics observed in Operation Triangulation don't align with patterns of known campaigns, making attribution challenging at this stage. Staying in Russia for a moment, between December 15th and the 25th, a phishing campaign targeting Polish and Ukrainian entities was linked to Russia's GRU, specifically the APT-28 unit, also known as Fancy Bear. CERT-UA released details from their investigation, revealing that the attack involved redirecting victims to a website that utilized JavaScript and the MS Search application protocol. This process resulted in the download of a shortcut file which, when opened, triggered a PowerShell command. This command facilitated the download and execution of a decoy document, the Python interpreter, and a file identified as MaizePy. The record highlighted that the campaign seems designed to spread through networks, not just infect individual devices. GovInfo Security indicated that Russia's historical patterns suggest such attacks could be precursors to larger cyber or physical assaults. Shortly after Apple warned independent Indian journalists and opposition politicians about potential government hacking attempts, India's Modi administration took action against Apple, the Washington Post reports. Officials from the Bharatiya Janata Party questioned Apple's threat algorithms and initiated an investigation into the security of Apple devices. In private meetings, senior Modi administration officials demanded that Apple help mitigate the political impact of the warnings. They even summoned an Apple security expert to New Delhi to propose alternative explanations for the warnings. The campaign targeted individuals critical of Prime Minister Modi or his ally Gautam Adani. Notably, journalist Anand Magnale and Ravi Nair of the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project were among those warned. A forensic analysis revealed that within 24 hours of contacting Adani for a story, Magnale's phone was infiltrated with Pegasus spyware, developed by Israeli company NSO Group and allegedly sold only to governments. Despite denials from Adani and the Indian government's refusal to confirm or deny using spyware, evidence suggests the government's use of these powerful surveillance tools. Fresh cases of infections among journalists and targeting of opposition politicians add to this evidence. Microsoft has deactivated its MS App Installer protocol handler due to its exploitation by threat actors, including Storm 0569, Storm 1113, Sangria Tempest, and Storm 1674. These groups have been leveraging the MS App Installer URI scheme to distribute malicious software, including ransomware, since mid-November of 2023. To combat this, Microsoft has disabled the App Installer by default, following observations of the handler's misuse as an entry point for malware through malevolent advertisements on popular search engines and Microsoft Teams. The reported misuse involves spoofing legitimate applications and evading initial detection, with cybercriminals also selling malware kits exploiting the MSIX file format and MS App Installer protocol. We note that Microsoft is an N2K partner. In Australia, Victoria's court system was compromised by a ransomware attack suspected to be orchestrated by Russian hackers using commercial ransomware known as Keylin. Hackers accessed the court's AV archive, AV in this case referring to the data types compromised in their audio-visual system, and not to antivirus software that could have prevented the attack. They potentially obtained recordings of sensitive court hearings between November 1st and December 21st. Court Services Victoria is contacting affected individuals and has set up a contact center. The attack led to staff being locked out with a message indicating a breach. CSV has isolated and disabled the affected network, ensuring that court operations remain unaffected. Researchers from SR Labs have released a decryptor for the BlackBasta ransomware, allowing victims of the ransomware since November 2022 to recover their files. Bleeping Computer reports that BlackBasta's developers last week patched the flaw exploited by the decryptor, so it won't work for newer attacks. Pro-Palestinian hackers Toufan claimed a series of cyber attacks against numerous Israeli entities amid the Gaza war, extending the conflict into cyberspace. They promised daily leaks through December and reportedly released data from 60 sites, including both Israeli and international firms like SpaceX, Toyota, and IKEA. Cybersecurity expert Kevin Beaumont described the group as incredibly well-organized and disruptive, targeting a wide range of entities and causing lasting damage, with many victims still struggling to recover weeks later. The group, which denies being a mere tool of any state, has shown a sophisticated level of operation, with some attributing its actions to potential Iranian backing. Their tactics have varied with battlefield events, pausing leaks during ceasefires, indicating a strategic approach to cyber warfare. As the conflict continues, so does Toufan's promise of persistent cyber targeting against Israeli interests. Patients of Integris Health in Oklahoma are being blackmailed with threats to sell their stolen data, including Social Security numbers and medical information, if an extortion demand isn't met. The not-for-profit health network, which suffered a cyber attack in November, confirmed the theft but has not provided details about the incident. The extortion emails, sent on December 24th, directed patients to a dark website listing personal data for sale. Integris Health has advised against responding to these emails and is aware of the situation. The mode of extortion resembles that used by the Hunters International ransomware gang in a previous attack, suggesting a possible link. However, paying the ransom does not guarantee data safety and might invite further extortion. Meanwhile, a cybersecurity breach at Corewell Health and its vendor HealthEC has affected over 1 million Michigan residents, compromising personal data and medical data, including Social Security and insurance information. Corewell Health proactively informed the Attorney General's office, which isn't required by Michigan law. The incident is one of several recent breaches in the region, including another at Corewell Health and attacks on McLaren Healthcare and the University of Michigan. LoanCare, a subsidiary of Fidelity National Financial, FNF, is notifying over 1.3 million individuals about a data breach stemming from a cyber attack on FNF's internal systems. Discovered on November 19th and contained a week later, the incident led to the exfiltration of personal details like names, addresses, Social Security numbers, and loan numbers. While there's no evidence of fraudulent use of the stolen data yet, LoanCare is offering free identity monitoring services. The Black Cat Alpha V ransomware group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Despite recent law enforcement actions against their operations, the group remains active. Google has tentatively settled a lawsuit alleging it secretly tracked millions of users' internet activities even while they were in incognito or private browsing modes. Initially seeking at least $5 billion, the terms of the settlement, reached through mediation, are not yet public but are expected to be formally presented by February 24th of this year. The lawsuit, filed in 2020, claimed Google collected data on users' personal interests and activities through analytics and cookies despite privacy settings since June 1, 2016. The plaintiffs argued this violated federal wiretapping and California privacy laws. On December 21st, Barracuda began issuing updates to address a zero-day vulnerability in its email security gateway appliances, actively exploited by the Chinese hacker group UNC 4841. This flaw stems from a third-party library, Spreadsheet Parse Excel, used in the Amavis virus scanner of the ESG appliances. Attackers could execute arbitrary code via a crafted Excel email attachment. Barracuda observed a deployment of a new C-Spy and saltwater malware variants following the exploitation. A patch was released on December 22nd to fix compromised appliances. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Caleb Barlow with a novel approach to password security. Stay with us. From dozens of spreadsheets and screenshots to fragmented tools and manual security reviews, managing the requirements for modern compliance and security programs is increasingly challenging. BlackBasta is the leading trust management platform that helps you centralize your efforts to establish trust and enable growth across your organization. Over 6,000 companies partner with BlackBasta to automate compliance, strengthen security posture, streamline security reviews, and reduce third-party risk. CyberWire Daily listeners can get $1,000 off BlackBasta by going to vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber.
And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the NSF's Scholarship for Service program, or the DoD's Cyber Scholarship program. Both scholarships cover tuition and provide more than $30,000 in an additional annual stipend. Apply for these scholarships to start in the fall semester at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI.
And it is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Caleb Barlow. He is the CEO at Cyberbit. Caleb, welcome back.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
So I was talking with a friend the other day about passwords, and she thought that she was very clever because she was sure that she'd come up with a foolproof system for her passwords. And I listened to her attentively, and then I shook my head and I explained to her why having a system, a little, code that you change from time to time isn't really going to be effective. This struck me as the kind of thing that I might enjoy a chat with you about. So what's the latest with you, Caleb, when it comes to trying to make heads or tails of long passwords?
Well, I'll tell you where a lot of this conversation came from me. I do a lot of compliance meetings for Wall Street firms, right? Wall Street firms have to have their, kind of annual cybersecurity compliance. So, sometimes I get invited down to kind of walk people through the basics. And, passwords are always a hot topic. And it was funny. Recently, I had a CEO of a Wall Street firm really come up to me afterwards, not happy, because I told everybody how, with the kind of GPU processors that you'd find in things like ChatGPT nowadays, you can break a rather long, let's say like an 8-character password in under a second, just by brute forcing all the possibilities. And it's not till you get to like 12 characters is 8 months, 13 characters is 47 years. And that's with that's with the cracking capability today. Right. So, he just kind of threw his hands up, completely frustrated with me. I can't remember anything that long. So I have an answer for this.
All right.
It involves children's books, Dave. So here I have
Sounds like my level.
Yeah, totally. I have Go Dog Go from Dr. Seuss, a really good one for passwords: 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. And here's the point, right? When you're trying to come up with a password, the challenge is being creative. And we've talked about in the past the importance of using a phrase. So the first thing you want to do, and I'll get to the Dr. Seuss books in a second, but the first thing you want to do is come up with a salt. So, because you need like that upper and lowercase character, a number, a special character. And of course, what do you use for your special character? Everybody uses exclamation point, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, your sports team, put an exclamation point at the end. It sounds great.
Done. Yeah.
What about like the poor tilde or like the percent mark?
Right.
Or maybe like even a parenthesis, let's work some of those in. So first of all, pick a salt, not 1, 2, 3 exclamation point, but, pick a set of numbers and a special character and, go ahead and use that salt over and over again. But then you turn to Dr. Seuss. And the great thing about Dr. Seuss is you get these great little phrases that are 13 to 14 characters. Oh me, oh my. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get up today. Another great Dr. Seuss book. And, listeners can't see this, but I have a pile of Dr. Seuss books in front of me. I'm showing Dave. Right.
Sam I Am.
Sam I Am's a good one.
I would not, could not. Right.
I would not, could not, should not. Right.
Yeah.
But the great thing about a children's book is you can do two things. One, you can come up with some ideas that are actually kind of fun and easy to remember. But if you really want to cheat and you keep track of your passwords like I do, which is you just write them down in a book, I also use like browser storage and passwords and a password vault. But, one of the great things about a children's book, get an old children's book and write where you use the password right next to the phrase. You keep that little book on the shelf. Nobody is going to think you were stupid enough to keep your passwords in a children's book.
That's right.
It's a great, fun way to have things that are completely unique on a regular basis.
I like it. Do you suppose that it's time to jettison the whole notion of password and we should switch to you trying to use the phrase passphrases?
100%. And actually, Dave, that's what I'm trying to encourage people to do here, right? And phrases are hard. We can kind of be creative. You can look around the room, pick an object or a favorite sports team or something for a password. But of course, with rainbow tables, all the sports teams are in there. All the common names are in there. All the common variations are in there. Phrases are not so much, which again is why I really like using a book. Mm-hmm. And, I tried using Rick Howard's new book, but the language is just, it's just too complicated for me.
Can't memorize that. It's no star-bellied sneeches.
No,
right?
No, exactly. Or right. Thing one, thing two, thing three. So the point is go find Dr. Seuss or whatever your favorite children's book is, and you have an endless array of really awesome phrases to use that are super fun and easy to remember.
Yeah.
And darn near impossible to crack.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right. I like it. Caleb Barlow, thanks so much for joining us. Hey everybody, I want to take a few minutes here and talk about our sponsor, Splunk. You need to keep operations humming around the clock, but potential disruptions are everywhere. Splunk helps you predict problems and find and fix issues fast so you can reduce risk and ditch downtime. The world's largest enterprises rely on Splunk's unified security and observability platform to become more efficient, resilient, and innovative. With Splunk, you can react quickly, evolve faster, and be ready for anything. Stay ahead of disruptions. Learn more at splunk.com/resilience. And finally, remember the Chinese intelligence collection balloon that floated across North America until the U.S. Air Force shot it down off Myrtle Beach on February 4th of last year? NBC News reports that it was communicating with its controllers via a U.S. ISP, and that the communications were mostly for navigation, probably position reporting, since the balloon would have been drifting whither the wind listeth and not really under controlled flight. Which ISP was being used hasn't been reported. The Chinese embassy reiterated its earlier claim that the craft was nothing more than a weather balloon, affected by the westerlies and with limited self-steering capability. The airship deviated far from its planned course, whither the wind listeth. And that's the Cyberwire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. You can email us at cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K and podcasts like the Cyberwire are part of the daily intelligence routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, as well as the critical security teams supporting the Fortune 500 and many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K Strategic Workforce Intelligence optimizes the value of your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your team while making your team smarter. Learn more at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Irvin. Our mixer is Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producers are Jennifer Iben and Brandon Carr. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpe, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.